What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. My name is Blitz Link. I'm here with Dan Loya tonight and David, two newbies on our Start and Sit live show. For those of you guys that watch the Blitz Angle, you see Dan a lot, and David has made some appearances earlier in the season. He is our Bills writer. Should be in for a great show tonight as we have a great slate of games coming up here for the NFL in Week 9. How are we doing tonight? And Bo Bichette, let's just say, very clutch player in Game 7. I had Shohei 4+ strikeouts, so unfortunately, I will not be cashing tonight. But how you guys doing?
Good, man. Shout out Bo Bichette. He knows ball.
Bo knows ball,
Doing
100%.
good, feeling
That's
good. Ready for
what
the
you said,
Bills to
Dave?
take on the Chiefs again.
What'd you say?
I said, look, I'm looking good, feel good. Ready for the Bills to take on the Chiefs again.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a good one.
Hey,
Well,
we won the last four. We're regular season champions.
Uh-oh.
the regular season champion banners are flying right now. We will see what happens. That'll be an elite and electric game. Should be a high scoring one and great for fantasy football. Let's get right into this. Remember, when you guys tune in, drop every question you have. We're going to go through and answer it with all of our expert advice and all the research we do. We live for this. So drop all your questions. We're going to give you the most valuable insights that you need to crush week 9. Let's get right into it here from Jared. Would you trade DK Metcalf for Debo in PPR redraft? Henderson or DK in the flex PPR. So, with my mindset here with Travion Henderson this week, I mean, the Patriots coaching staff hates the guy, and they're kind of forced to play him at this point. So it's definitely an interesting thing to see. I think he'll probably sit around that 65% snap share, and we know his receiving work is going to be good. And obviously, DK Metcalf is going against the Colts, but I think that as far as DK's value goes, right, I think you start DK over Henderson barely this week. The Falcons are still middle of the pack again, but you got to think when the Colts are playing Indy, they're going to need some points to keep up with them. And the Colts secondary isn't necessarily the most scary unit in football right now. So I got DK a little bit higher in terms of flex purposes. But for that trade, I'd actually recommend the Debo side of it. Debo's been pretty good this season. Struggled the last 2 or 3 games, I believe he's been out there. But Jaden Daniels is now back healthy, right? When McLaurin comes back from his quad injury and maybe next week again or 2 weeks, right? He'll be much better. He had a tough matchup against the Chiefs, and that's why he had a bad performance. I think Debo this year has been solid, and obviously he's eating up a lot of those underneath targets, and the Commanders' defense is not great either. So I think in PPR formats, I'd take Debo rest of the season over DK. We'll do this one. David, which one are you going with here? Are you going with Henderson or DK in the flex?
I think I lean towards DK just because I like the idea of DK being the sole wide receiver option. We know he's going to be the wide receiver one option the whole season. So whether Terry's healthy or not, Debo, or when Terry's healthy, which should be within the next week or two, I think Debo's going to be back in that. Debo's going to be back in the wide receiver 2 role, which he excelled in earlier in the season. Even when Daniels was missing a game, he still popped off.
Yeah.
But I like having wide receiver ones in my flex.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. All right, Dan, we're going to kick this one off to you. Next question here. Travion Henderson from our GOAT. We know we love DG here at Blitz Sports Media, the guy.
DG.
Shout out DG, day one guy. Travion Henderson or Kyle Monungai. Dan, I'll take it to you first.
For this week, correct? That's the question.
For this week, just for this week.
Yeah, no, yeah. Start. Mr. Mungungai. I can't even say his name from Rutgers. Start him with confidence. Yeah, him too. No, they're playing Cincinnati Bengals. Their defense stinks against the run, and Ben Johnson's gonna run that football. Ben Johnson's gonna want to run that football this week. The Bengals have allowed 27 plus points in 7 straight games. It should be a high scoring matchup, and you got to think that regime drafted Mungungai in the 7th round this year. So they want to see what he has, and I think this is a big coming out party for him this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a slow trend towards this moment for Kyle Monungai as his snap shares have increased every single week, right? They finally got to a 55-45 snap share with him and DeAndre Swift, right? He's playing a lot more in valuable roles like short yardage, goal line work. And now DeAndre Swift is just out. So Roshan Johnson's out as well. And you look at that and you're like, man, Kyle Monungai is probably on pace for 18 to 20 touches this week. And he's going to have a valuable role in the receiving game. And it's not like the Bears passing game has been so good that they're just going to abandon the run either, right? This Bengals defense let up over 200 rushing yards just last week against the Jets. I think Kyle Monungai is going to be in for a monster game. I do like Travion Henderson this week, and you're kind of in a great situation by having both these guys as options. But Kyle Monungai is the play against the Bengals. And I'll kind of do a side note here with the Bears offense. This is going to boost Caleb Williams this week for sure, right? Without DeAndre Swift, their veteran running back who they've trusted, 16 to 20 touches a game. With him out, right, it is going to be Caleb Williams. You're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. You're going to have to, take over against this defense. And I like that for fantasy football. Caleb's obviously struggled over the last few weeks, but could be good against a bad defense, getting a little bit more volume and trying to get that passing game going in Chicago. So I think we are going to go with Kyle Monungai over Travion Henderson there. Appreciate you, DG. Deontay Thornton, Truther, another Blitz goat. Let's go. Woody Marks or Kyle Monungai. David, we'll take it off to you first.
I'd still lean Kyle, honestly, just because the Bengals are allowing the most rushing yards as a team with 151.9. And who are the Texans playing this week?
The Texans play the Denver Broncos, who have been very good against running backs, but they do struggle a little bit through the air against running backs.
I'd still lean Kyle just because the Bengals are allowing almost 60 more rushing yards per game.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you here, and he's Deontay Thornton Truther, right? He spelled it. Kyle Monungai, like Dan was trying.
I'm just saying Kyle. I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna try. I'm just gonna say Kyle.
We'll have a whole segment
Kyle here.
we'll have a whole segment on pronouncing it. Guy. There you go. Yeah, but he's got a mouthful of a last name. I do think I'm in that same boat though. I'm going with Monungai over Woody Marks. I have him as high as my RB15 this week, and crazy thing about it, I actually have Kareem Hunt as my RB14 this week as well. So like a lot of these guys that are filling in for these injured running backs just have great matchups, right, to cash in with a little bit more volume and, have nice days. I do think with Woody Marks or some people that might have him, I don't think he's a player that you fade against the Denver Broncos just because the matchup. I do think his receiving work could get him in play. For sure. IO here did comment about that 3-run home run from Bo. We will be having World Series updates when they happen live here. We are not missing that game while doing this stream for sure. Let's get to his question now. Start 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and half PPR. He's got David Montgomery, your boy Dan, Bam Knight, Rico Dowdle, Tyrone Tracy, Jake Ferguson, Rondé Gadsden. My brain just went dead there for a second. And then T. Higgins. Dan, this is an interesting lineup here that you're going to have to navigate. What are you thinking? Who are you getting in your lineup in half PPR?
Yeah, half PPR. I think I would look at Bam Knight. Let's see. Start 2, Monty. Start Monty, Bam Knight.
Yeah, I'll pull it back up for you. Sorry, I gotta get my DG.
let me get Monty, Bam Knight. Let's go Ferguson and T. Higgins.
Bang. Okay.
Because I just think like questions like these, I just want to play the matchup. And the Cardinals, for some reason, I don't know about you guys, but like whenever you watch a Monday night game and you're playing against people that have players on Monday night, I swear the game is longer. My key takeaway is start as many people in that Monday night game as possible. It's going to be high scoring. Both defenses, especially the Cowboys defense, is real. Gives up a lot of points. It's going to be a high scoring game, so I want to start as many people in that game as possible. So I like Bam Knight's the red zone running back. So as long as the Cardinals drive down the field, he's going to get the touches inside the red zone. He scored, I believe, 3 touchdowns already this season.
Yeah.
Also, Monty's the RB2. I know he's kind of getting phased out, but I still like him this week. He's still going to get his. He's good for like 15 carries a week. And it could be a blowout, too, for Detroit Lions. Ferguson's one of the best tight ends in the league. And then T. Higgins, another game I want to target. Bears, Cincinnati, should be a shootout. And T. Higgins, I know I got the stat here. Higgins has scored a TD in 3 of his last 4 games. So let me put Higgins in the lineup.
Yeah. I like a lot of, the things that you were talking about there. I think that as far as this lineup goes, the only one I'm really changing is I have Tyrone Tracy in the 49ers against that matchup over David Montgomery. I'm a little bit concerned about David Montgomery, who's starting to, he's been volatile because of his role in the offense. And now it feels like his snap shares are dipping a little bit. His production is also dipping. So I think with a guy like Tyrone Tracy, who has a rushing quarterback like Jackson Dart, they're going to face a defense that ranks in the bottom of the NFL in pressure rate. I think Tracy's going to have a solid day. And we've seen that teams can beat the 49ers if they're able to work through the ground. They're able to work play action off of that. Like, we have seen that recipe. So I think I'm going Tyrone Tracy over Monty, but love Bam Knight this week. I think he's a great play and a great bet for those of you guys that are in the betting side of it. Over Ferguson and Gadsden, you're in a luxury situation there having both those guys this week. But I would go Jake Ferguson. Should have enough volume against this Cardinals defense, who's not been super great against tight ends. And then T. Higgins. He'll have a bounce back week against the Bears, who are allowing the most yards per play given up this season. So should be a solid lineup right there. Let's get to Kenny. I have both Trey McBride and Aronde Gadsden. Would you trade, or what would you trade basically? What would be a realistic trade target? David, I'll ask this one to you, right? He has Trey McBride and Aronde Gadsden. My question for you is, which one would you rather, try to move? Do you move the guy that's the tight end one and maybe try to get an elite player, or do you move a player that's ascending and, his value's at his peak right now, maybe?
So assuming this is redraft, yeah. I'm kind of comfortable with both of them. I would lean towards keeping McBride, but I guess it would just come down to my return on either player. If I could trade Gadsden for a guy like Garrett Wilson, who's been injured the last few weeks, and if you could talk your way into getting someone like a Garrett Wilson, then I think you trade Gadsden. But if the guy counters and says, "Give me McBride," you still have Gadsden. You can still get Garrett Wilson. I don't know. I'm comfortable with both of them.
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with either of them being in your lineup. I think Gadsden's the guy that I want to try to sell high this week, right? He's coming off of basically his 3 best performances that we're probably going to see in a 3-game stretch this season. The Chargers just have so many weapons, and it's going to constantly change. Outside, I think Ladd McConkey is the safest one for them, right? Long-term, going forward, safest option in that offense. I think Allen, Quentin Johnston, and Gadsden are all going to be really volatile. And, Gadsden doesn't have a great schedule upcoming, 25th ranked schedule among tight ends. So he's a good sell high candidate. I think even like a guy like Courtland Sutton would be a great deal, right? He's going to face Houston this week. He potentially gets 2 catches or something like that, a good buy low opportunity. A guy like Deebo Samuel would not be a bad get. As far as running backs go, it's a little bit tougher sledding to try to get a more consistent RB, but I think Chase Brown would be a realistic target to try to get from somebody who has the easiest schedule among running backs. So I think if you're trying to go that route, I think you try to, move Gadsden when he's at its peak and, see what happens over the course of it. It's always kind of tough to navigate, what's available, what the guy is willing to offer, stuff like that. But there's definitely some good buy low candidates and some players you could target depending on if they're struggling or not and going to improve long term. Let's get to Joe here. Non-PPR, pick 1 wide receiver, Drake London or Devontae Adams. Pick 2 running backs, Kyle Monunga, Travion Henderson, Chase Brown. Dan, I'm going to take it off to you. What are you going with?
Yeah, dang, it's a tough matchup here. Rams are playing the Saints. Well, I think you got to start Drake London in definitely standard. That's what I believe he's asking, standard league. Drake London's always a threat to score in the red zone. So I would go with Drake London there. And then 2 running backs, obviously Kyle, big fan of Kyle. And then I would start Chase Brown as well. Just because I'm targeting that matchup. It's going to be high scoring. And I don't know what that total is, but I know it's one of the highest in the NFL. So I just want to target as many, especially standard. You want people to score touchdowns. And obviously I'm a big believer in Travion Henderson, but New England doesn't give him the ball and we haven't seen it yet. So I'd rather leave him on my bench, and especially if you got a guy like Chase Brown, you probably drafted real high in the summer. Trust him and insert him in your lineup.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one for sure here. I actually am going to go Adams and non-PPR. Facing the Saints, Adams is leading all wide receivers in red zone targets by a mile. Saints, they're going to have scoring opportunities. They're a 14-point favorite. Puka's back. He's going to take some coverage off of Adams. It'll be a good matchup for him to find the end zone. I think with Drake London, people are concerned about Christian Gonzalez, but the way London's utilized, he's not going to match up with him a significant amount, right? It is going to be a lot of putting Drake London in the slot to try to avoid Christian Gonzalez. And I think Mooney is the guy that will get Christian Gonzalez a lot. So I think it'll be interesting, right? I think London is still a must start this week, but I think his production could be a little bit down especially considering the fact like this passing game hasn't been very consistent. Then as far as the running backs go, Kyle Mononga, got to get him in my lineup, but Chase Brown's another guy I'm getting in my lineup. I mean, ever since this team, I turned on the tape. When Joe Flacco got there, the biggest change they made is they went more under center, and it helped their offensive line run block better, and it's opened things up in the passing game with getting the ball out of Joe Flacco's hands. Chase Brown, sure, he doesn't get the dump downs he once did with Joe Burrow, where had like six or seven catches per game, but he's also sitting there getting 3 catches a game, and his rushing efficiency is going crazy right now, and he has a very easy schedule. Chicago is not their rushing defense overall has been improved over the last 3 weeks, but I mean, still 2 touchdowns allowed to Derrick Henry. And their main focus this week is going to be able to slow down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside compared to slowing down Chase Brown in this run game. So I think both those guys are going to be good. And it looks like we do have an update from the World Series. Anybody see what happened yet?
Yeah, I got 3-1.
Nope.
Yep, 3-1. Sack fly. All right now.
Yeah, it's good play. Good play in center.
That's who we're going with there. All right, P Gear here. Do I trade Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rashid Shaheed for Keenan Allen or Marvin? And either. Oh boy,
I think he's saying Marvin Harrison for Keenan or Marvin Mims, maybe.
Marvin and Shaheed for Keenan or Marvin, and either Shaheed or Wandell for Keenan and Troy.
Oh, I think I see what he's saying.
Okay, why don't you answer it first while I'm still trying to process it.
So he's saying, do I trade Marvin Harrison and Shaheed for Keenan Allen, or Marvin Harrison and either Shaheed or Waddle for Keenan and Troy Franklin, or maybe Travion Henderson too?
Why do you want to trade those guys? That's my question. What's going on here? Marvin and Shaheed? What's wrong with those guys?
If he does one or the other, I'd do Marvin and Shaheed for Waddle, but I still wouldn't. I don't think I would do the trade regardless.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I think Keenan's like a player that I'm trying to avoid right now. He's kind of trending in the wrong direction, right? His production's starting to slip, and I kind of mentioned it. The only Chargers player that I kind of trust right now in that passing game long term is Ladd McConkey, because we know his role is going to increase and be a little bit more consistent over the course of the rest of the season. He said, sorry, I didn't reread that question. My bad, folks.
I think I understood it.
You are good, bro. I'm a little bit down.
Marvin and Shaheed for Waddle, I would consider.
I think it's Wandell.
Wandell Robinson?
Yeah, Wandell. I think with Marvin Harrison Jr., though, I think you hold after and then try to sell after this week, right? He's got, or even like the next 4 weeks, he's got the 3rd easiest schedule among receivers over that stretch, right? This week he gets the Cowboys. He's going to have a good performance. This is your chance to kind of sell high on a player that's going to continue to be volatile because Drew Petzing still is offensive coordinator, and he's going to not get valuable targets down the field when Kyler Murray gets back. So Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be solid these next few weeks. You could trade high on him, upgrade at that receiver position. I know you're trying to target Keenan Allen, but if Marvin Harrison Jr. has a few good games, maybe you go and get a player, I don't know, like Devonta Smith or something, or another option like Cortland Sutton might have a down week this week. Maybe you could flip that type of situation. I think Travion Henderson's a tough ask. I think Ramondre is probably healthy next week, and we know the frustrating part of that offense already. So I don't know if I'm buying Travion Henderson right now because of that, but this is also a situation where it could be a big-time move for sure. What were you going to say, Dan?
Yeah, real quick. The thing about Keenan Allen for me is he hasn't played a full season since 2021. So it's always like I feel like he gets hurt every year. So I would be careful trying to acquire Keenan Allen, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely got his concerns for sure. Rashid Shaheed or Jordan Addison PPR. Dan, off to you here. Who are you picking?
Man, this is a tough week for Rashid Shaheed. I guess I go this week Jordan Addison because I think the Minnesota Vikings will need to throw the ball to beat Detroit. I can look at my projections real quick, but yeah, I think that could be. They're going to be continuing to chase points. Obviously, the Lions are going to win that game. They're the better football team, but they're still banged up in the secondary. So I would go Jordan Addison here. Let's see projections. Yeah, my projections: 4 catches, 53 yards, and possibly a score. So I would start him over Rashid Shaheed, especially with Tyler Show too.
Yeah, the guys.
What to expect there.
For like Tyler Shuck's first start against the Rams, who are top 5 in pressure rate. Good luck. Good luck, Tyler Shuck. Yeah, that's going to be a tough opening start. And Shaheed's more of a down the field type target. So it's like, I'm not really liking his viability this week with Addison. I know I don't love the matchup against Detroit, but it's also like the quarterback situation is frustrating. McCarthy hasn't looked good. Their offensive line has not been good this year, but I think Addison's the better play in this situation, especially with the spread of where it is. Right? I think that it's 100% Jordan Addison week. I'm laughing at this right now. Yeah, I'm cooked at wide receiver. Got his ACL blown up by like turf. And Geno Smith doesn't target Deontay Thornton, biggest threat to the USA since Bin Laden. Oh man, this is why we love our boy Deontay Thornton, truther. This is why we love him. We gotta see what I want to start doing soon too. Is I want to start maybe on some of these shows is sending people the StreamYard link to hop in here and talk through their questions with us. I think that'd be a fun segment to do sometime. So I think if you guys are all about that in the chat, let us know. We might start getting those going a little bit more often for you guys. We got Oliver here, trade Olave, Genty, and Bam Knight for Bijan Robinson. David, I will take this off to you.
My goodness.
I will say this every single time. Anytime you're trading 2 or 3 players for an elite player, no matter who the 2 or 3 players are, do it every time. So I'm going towards Bijan Robinson.
All right. I think it's a fair trade for sure. I think it's probably very close. If you look at like our trade analyzer, I'm sure it's very close on both sides, right? I think the biggest question is, can you survive losing this depth if you make this trade? Because Olave, I really like Olave. I think he's incredibly underrated as a receiver. Genty is going to continue to be volatile, but Bam Knight, he's got probably 1 to 2 more weeks of viability. And then, could be a goner on the roster for the Cardinals at that point. So for Bijan, man, I'm thinking if I can afford to trade these guys, fill in my starting lineup, and I get the top running back in fantasy football, I'm absolutely pulling that trigger, and I'm going to do that automatically. I mean, getting a stud like Bijan absolutely changes your week-to-week thing, and you got to think, like, sometimes if you just have that one player, like this year it feels like Taylor, Puka, Bijan, like those 3 guys have just solely won weeks consistently, and, getting a player like that definitely helps account for that. So if you have the depth to do it, I think I would 100% do that trade. Shout out to Kyle Mule tuning in. Not going to lie, he's watching in the shower right now. That's how loyal the Blitz followers are. You got dudes watching in the shower.
The smiley face was insane. The smiley face was so unnecessary.
Hey, that's what these start and sit live streams are all about. That's what they're all about. If you guys are just tuning in, drop your questions down below. We are answering all of them. We're about hitting that halfway point of the show. Getting to Kenny's second question here. I have 3 quarterbacks, Goff, Caleb Williams, and Brock Purdy. Who would you move away off of or only want to keep 2? Dan, what are your thoughts here?
All right. Sorry, got some chaos in the World Series here. I have 3 quarterbacks, Goff, Caleb, Purdy. Who would you move away from? I guess Brock Purdy, because he's just been hurt all season, in my opinion. Yeah. I like Caleb Williams. I think eventually he's going to click, and then Goff is, I trust him as well in Detroit. So we just don't know with Purdy and his injury. And out of those 3, give me Goff and Caleb Williams. I think Caleb's going to get on a run. You got to give him time. He's going to get more comfortable in this offense, and he can run. So I like Caleb Williams. I like those 2.
I think the hard part about Purdy is, like, I just don't know when the guy's returning. Every single week he's been limited at practice. I just don't know when he's returning. I know the 49ers have an upcoming favorable schedule, and maybe you're like, man, I want to chase the upside, and you're just like, maybe I drop Jared Goff or something. I think Caleb is the one you keep just because of his legs, his ability to use those, and, like, going forward, right, this Bears team is going to need to throw the ball more. They're going to have some tougher matchups. Williams is going to be asked to do a little bit more than he is right now, compared to what the Bears' ground game has done. So I think Caleb's going to have to step up. He's still within my top 12 quarterbacks right now, so I would hold him. As far as Goff and Purdy go, it just comes down to the availability thing. I'm gonna keep the guy that's more available right now in Jared Goff, and I think, like, this week I like Goff. He's got a good matchup. He's at home against the Vikings. Like, Goff is a perfect plug-and-play streamer. Brock Purdy, when he's on the field, good player, right? Just hard to find the field this year for Brock Purdy, who's just finding ways to get hurt in different ways. And this toe injury is definitely very concerning because, I mean, it's been ongoing for weeks now, and he just hasn't overcame it. I mean, turf toe is a serious deal. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure that Brock Purdy is going to be the same when he returns and could have decreased mobility when he's out there. So out of those guys, I'm keeping Caleb and Goff. All right, funeral snacks. That's a name for sure. Have PPR, Wandale Robinson, Alec Pierce, or Troy Franklin. David, what are your thoughts?
Shout out.
I'm probably going Wandale Robinson there. Franklin is very inconsistent to me, and same for Alec Pierce. It seems like both those guys will either have a magical 15-point game or they'll just have 2 or 3 points for a week. But Wandale's been consistently getting around 10 to 15 points every week, especially with Malik Neighbors out. He's really stepped up and shown great potential throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm a big Wandale guy this week against the 49ers, who've allowed the most. Listen, this is my favorite bet of the week. So if you're cooking up a parlay, Wandale Robinson needs to be in there. The 49ers allowed the most yards to slot receivers this season. I love Wandale Robinson's matchup this week. Have PPR, right? He used to be a guy where he would get 8 catches for 20 yards, right? That'd be viable in PPR, but in any other format, it's like, dude, this guy is literally a PPR merchant. But that's not the case anymore. He's running yards more or routes more down the field without Malik Neighbors as well. His first read shares jumped to 23%. So this is a guy that's evolving within this New York Giants offense, becoming more of a, I don't want to say an elite receiver, but a guy you can throw the ball to consistently and have success. Great matchup this week. Wandale Robinson is going to be in for a nice game based on everything the analytics are telling me. Yeah. Steven here, good afternoon. Need to help picking my second running back spot, my second flex spot in full PPR matchup this week, deciding between Bam Knight, Rico Dowdle, Jordan Addison, Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, and Romeo Dobbs. Dan, what are your thoughts about this grouping? You're getting the bigger lineup questions for sure.
Yeah, you need help picking my second running back spot. Okay, so just he's deciding between Bam Knight and Dowell.
And Kenneth Walker for that, and then he gets a flex for any of the options left.
Man, what a team, dude! What a team! I like your team. All right, let's go. Obviously, I want Bam Knight. I've been harping on that tonight. I don't know. I'm kind of because Rico Dowell's got a tough matchup. The Packers are one of the best run defense teams in the league. I think to beat the Packers, you got to throw the ball. So I like Bam Knight. And then I think you got to go, in this case, Kenneth Walker. I know he's not getting the red zone work, but he's playing a Washington team that can't stop the run right now. And you saw what the Chiefs did to this team on Monday night. DJ Moore's hurt. Romeo Dobbs hit or miss, especially with Christian Watson back. If I was the owner of this team, I like starting running backs. This is PPR. I'll go Bam Knight and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I'm going Bam Knight for that running back room. Rico Dowdle, there have been rumors that he's going to get an increased workload. That's right. What Dave Canales said. He's got to find a way to get him the ball. That's great long term. Not great this week when you're facing the Green Bay Packers that rank top 5 in yards after contact allowed, top 5 in rushing yards, top 5 in rushing success rate. Not great matchup. But Bam Knight faces the Dallas Cowboys, and me and Dan talked about that today. They couldn't stop me and him if we were at quarterback and wide receiver right now, or even I put Dan at running back and we run behind that offensive line. We're getting 3 yards. We're getting some yards there. Bam Knight is going to have a solid day against that defense. And then you have Kenneth Walker, who's going against the Commanders. So it's an interesting grouping for sure. I think if I were to go Walker or Knight, I slightly go Kenneth Walker, even though I love Bam Knight's matchup this week. And then I look at that flex position, and I think I still go Bam Knight in the flex. So Jordan Addison, I talked about him a little bit, not super high on him. DJ Moore this week against the Bengals. I know that's a plus matchup, but Moore has struggled every single week this year and has just not looked like the same player. And then Romeo Dobbs, really tough matchup against Carolina, who's allowing under 200 passing yards per game and have done a really good job against slot receivers. So with that, I think Bam Knight and Kenneth Walker are the two guys that I am finding a way to get in my lineup this week.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah. All right. Let's do that. Bottom of the fourth right now, first and second. From what I'm looking at right now, we're going to get Kyle's question while he's in the shower. This is an in the shower thought question here. I traded for Garrett Wilson. He gave up Tet and Evan Ingram. Is that good for me? David, it is your turn. What are your thoughts? He also has Ladd, Jamar Odunze too, and Brock Bowers. So he's definitely got a loaded receiver room for sure.
Jeez, I traded.
Again, with the Bijan trade earlier, I love when you can trade 2 good players and get a top tier player. Garrett Wilson is a top wide receiver when he's healthy. Hopefully he can get back within the next week or two. And again, for his sake, I hope Bowers is out again this week, right? or is he?
No,
No,
Bowers
he's
is back
playing.
in. Back
Oh,
in.
he's
Great matchup
finally.
against the Jags.
Finally, I got adjust the lineup then. but with Bowers back, yeah, Evan Ingram. I've seen people start cutting Evan Ingram. Like people are losing faith in him very quickly this season. So to be able to trade him and get Garrett Wilson back, that's a great trade.
Yeah, I think it's a really good trade as well because I think that having a receiver room of Lad McConkey, Jamar Chase, Romo Dunze, Garrett Wilson, that's about as good as it gets. And I can give you guys a little bit more context here. I do know Kyle, and I was the one that actually made this trade with him. So I was the one that gave him Garrett Wilson. And
Oh,
well, you guys got to hear the context. I had
Yikes.
last week I had Puka bye week, Garrett Wilson injured, Ricky Pearsall injured, Brian Thomas Jr. bye week. I had 0 receivers on my team last week. Is
what was this in our league? The
No,
Blitz
this is
league or no? Oh,
my
okay.
home.
That's like
This is one of my boys from home, and I'm
oh,
like,
okay,
"Dude,
okay.
I need a wide receiver this week." And for some reason, every single person in our league just thinks Garrett Wilson's a scrub, and I just have no clue why. Like the guy is a 20-point machine this year.
Yeah, he's
He
awesome.
scored over 20 points in basically every game he played and finished, which is great production. I was hoping I could keep him and Puka on the same squad. I was like, I'm going to ride that out. Did not work like that. Tet had to get a receiver somewhat close in value to Garrett Wilson the rest of the year, and then Evan Ingram was more of just a throw it in there for a flex.
I just said people were cutting him.
Yep. Oh no, trust me, I dropped him right away. This week. He's not on the roster anymore. So
They just signed Mercedes Lewis too.
yeah, trust me. Evan Ingram was a 2-day rental, and now he's on waivers, so someone else can go grab him. But yeah, I think that receiver room, Kyle, is definitely loaded and should be a great group of players for you going forward. All right, Tet, London, Parker Washington, or Jennings, pick 2. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Torrey McMillan and Mr. Drake London. I like those two. I like especially with T-Mac. He's gonna have a good game against the Packers. You got to throw against, especially if they're gonna be down against this Green Bay team. I think he's gonna be a PPR monster on Sunday. And then Drake London. I know he's battling a hip injury, but I just looked. He was like 6th in the NFL in target share. His target percentage, he's 6th in the NFL among wide receivers. Whenever he's in the lineup and Michael Penix is throwing the ball to him, he's good for 10 targets a game. So yeah, you got to start those two with confidence.
Yeah, I don't think it's very close for me. I mean, you go with your dogs. Tet McMillan, dog.
Yeah.
Drake London, dog. They're going to get the volume. And like I mentioned earlier, you can't be scared, right, of, Christian Gonzalez matching up with Drake London because it's just not going to happen. Like, he's a slot guy most of the time, right? When he's on the outside, sure, he'll draw him, but he's going to be in the slot. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. And he's still really good against zone coverage, and the Patriots love to run zone. So Tet McMillan, on the other hand, though, against Green Bay, that secondary's not great. So, like, he's going to be in for a solid week this week, and I think Tet McMillan and Drake London should be able to cash in and have some nice weeks for those squads. All right. We're getting to Joe here. Actually, Kyle Mule said, is Dan like that? Joe here, PPR start 1, wide receiver, flex 1, wide receiver / running back. He's got Jacoby Myers, Romeo Doubs, Quentin Johnston, Kenneth Walker, J.K. Dobbins, and Rico Dowdle. What are your thoughts on these guys?
I'm leaning more. So start 1 receiver. I'd probably go Jacoby Myers. I like Romeo Doubs coming back, but that receiver room is kind of weird with Christian Watson also coming back. But I would pick Jacoby Myers just with Quentin Johnston's inconsistently the last few weeks. And for the running back, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I'm starting Rico Dowdle in a couple leagues, and I'm going to stick with that. He's had a crazy 2-week span, and I know he didn't do it last week, but that's because Chuba came back and underperformed. And as you said earlier, Ryan, Dave Canales said they got to get Rico the ball, and I think they will. I think Rico's going to have 15-plus touches. Chuba might have 5 to 10 touches. I think Chuba will get more than people think. But either way, I think Rico is in for at least 15 points.
Listen, I've been a Rico Dowdle truther for 2 years now. I was on the case last year for the Cowboys, banging on the drum. They need to get this guy the ball more often. and he broke out. Same type of situation happened in Carolina. The guy is a talented football player, and he just hasn't had like a bell cow role in his career to, showcase that. Towards the end of his Dallas tenure, he did. He played really well for them, and I was surprised they didn't bring him back. And now Carolina has this deep running back room with two of these guys. So I think Rico Dowdle is a good football player. Do I trust him this week? I don't know. I think Kenneth Walker against the Commanders is probably the best flex in this situation. Unfortunately, you can't throw J.K. Dobbins at wide receiver or something. But out of that grouping there, I mean, you got to go Quentin Johnston. I understand that, he struggled the past few weeks. His target share is going down. But Romeo Doubs is in for a very tough matchup this week against Carolina. That secondary is going to be able to slow him down. Jacoby Myers has been the biggest disappointment this year. I thought he was an incredibly safe player, but I mean, the Raiders, something's wrong over there. It's the whole offense. It's just off right now. So Myers has been bad, and I just can't trust him right now. So I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker in the flex and Quentin Johnston against a Titans defense that is doo-doo cheeks. They are not good. So I am locking those two guys in my lineups. Reminder for you guys, keep firing away all your fantasy football questions. We got about 22 minutes left in the show. We are going to answer all those. We want to help you guys win your weeks here, and make sure you're watching the World Series while doing this, and don't miss out. Just have both things going at once, 100%. Let's get into it. Clutch game here, 0-9. Drop Alec Pierce or Christian Watson on the chance that Isaiah Davis takes over for the Jets. I'm starting Hendy and Tracy in a 2 flex. David, what are your thoughts?
If those are your running backs, I'd probably drop Alec Pierce for Isaiah Davis, just because if Henderson and Tracy are your RB1 and 2, it sounds like you're going to need to get a home run with the waiver wire, and Isaiah Davis might be that. Personally, I don't think he will be, but it's worth the chance of dropping Alec Pierce.
Yeah, I think with the interesting part about Alec Pierce, right, is he's averaging around 9 fantasy points a game, hasn't scored a touchdown, but like this Colts offense is operating at such a high efficiency that all their guys' productions have been pretty good in fantasy so far this year. Like Pittman's been good, Tyler Warren's been good. We all know Jonathan Taylor's been really good. So I think with Pierce, we're seeing him play kind of close to where he's going to be. Christian Watson was really good last week in his return. I think he's a guy you just kind of hold and see what happens. So I like Watson as a stash. Drop Alec Pierce, pick up Isaiah Davis. He's a great stash long-term, depending on what the Jets do with Breece Hall. Rumor is their asking price is a 3rd-round pick, so we will see if some team will be willing to pay that, because they're getting basically a running back who's not guaranteed to play for that team next year because his contract expires. So it'll be interesting to see if a team's willing to pay that price of a 3rd-rounder. If they do, Isaiah Davis looked really good last week. So I think Isaiah Davis is definitely trending up in the right direction and a pretty good football player. So definitely in a situation where they could do an upgrade. As far as the running backs go, David, I don't know what you're giving them slander about, dog. Like Tracy's going to be decent this year. Like Henderson's a good plug and play guy. He's probably got somebody on a bye week. Like
Tracy last year, when he was the main starter, he was no more than a flex guy. No, at least on my teams he was.
But he's got a rushing quarterback consistently now, and Jackson Dart has elevated a little bit of the play of these guys. So I think he's borderline RB2, RB3, but depending on your matchups, plug and play. And who knows? Like I said, Travion Henderson could have a great week, and finally Josh McDaniels opens his eyes and decides to play the most talented player on their offense. So we'll see what happens. And it's crazy the Patriots have had that much success, and they're not even utilizing like one of their best players. It's absurd. So
the Patriot way,
the Patriot way. You got to earn your keep, I guess. All right, Dan. Evening. Need to start 2 PPR out of ETN, Travion Henderson, Ashton Genty, and Kyle Monangai. Who are you going with here?
Man, I mean, in my case, obviously Kyle Monangai. I think he's going to be the star of the day of the show. And then in this case, man, ETN or Genty. I'm starting Genty. Like I still trust Genty. Genty's probably the talented running out of these 4. He's the most talented of this group. I'm just gonna go old reliable Genty. He's gonna get a heavy workload. I know the Raiders struggle, but he's gonna get 20 carries. He's gonna get 15, 20 carries a game, and he's a pass catcher, so he will add to the PPR for you in this case. So I like those 2, Genty and Mr. Monangai.
Dude, this is hard for me. I like all these guys are like.
Don't overthink it. But see, Genty's a home run hitter. I'm telling you, it takes one with Genty. We saw that with the Bears game. Like you got to always start Genty.
It takes
The
one with
Raiders.
every running back.
No, Genty's different. It's different.
I agree with you
Genty
just
more.
because ETN the last 3 weeks he's had single-digit points, and I'm not a Henderson truther if I'm being honest. So that is playing into my opinion. Hey, you're laughing, but I'll bring up RJ Harvey again. Don't make me do it.
Wait.
Raiders are
Dan.
top 15 against the run too. So
Hold up, guys.
They've been-
RJ Harvey ranks 4th among running backs in fantasy points.
Oh my god.
What do you mean? That's pretty good.
Stop it. You are dying alone on the RJ Harvey hill.
I drafted him too. Hey, real quick for our guy here, Tony. The Raiders are top 10 against the run and yards per play allowed. So they're pretty stingy, and they're a different team at home. They play a lot better. So I'm telling you, just trust your gut. First off, it's your team. We're just the scouts here. So you're the GM at the end of the day. You put in whoever you want, but I would start Genty and Kyle.
Yeah, I'm going Monungai and Genty too. I think, Genty, like the volume's really good, and he's been playing better as of late. Obviously, the last moment you had of him was the Chiefs game where he did nothing because the Chiefs basically try to take away your best player. So Genty was non-existent, not high. He's a good buy low candidate, honestly. Like you could probably sell like a RB2 that's been overperforming and try to get Genty. So it'll be interesting. And then Kyle Monungai, just the great matchup this week, dude. He is going to cash in and really take advantage of the Cincinnati Bengals matchup with DeAndre Swift out and more touches. So I think those two guys are who you're going with. KJ Frederick here. Actually, hold up. David, looks like we have another RJ Harvey fan here in the chat. Once Dobbins gets banged up, Harvey will win leagues. I'm actually in 100% agreement with it. He just needs more touches. That's all it is. 3 touchdowns.
I don't necessarily disagree with that because when Dobbins signed with the Broncos, I knew Dobbins is the more talented back in my opinion. His problem has been Dobbins is a great running back. He is just an unhealthy running back. All right.
Poor guy. Yeah.
But the reason I avoided RJ Harvey is because
Dobbins is not a bad football player.
Dobbins will play at least half the season healthy, which he already has. So why would I draft someone like RJ Harvey where I know even if he's great, I won't get him until late in the season, and he might not be great. It's a 50-50 with rookies.
And that's fair. And a lot of the draft day stuff too, like we talked about Amari and Hampton, like it worked out perfect for him. Najee Harris gets hurt, misses all of training camp in the preseason, and he had to slowly evolve his role. And then as he's getting more snaps, he gets hurt. Amari and Hampton's backfield now. Like it's kind of similar with like what rookies do. And like maybe this is when Travion Henderson finally gets his opportunity. Rookies just take time to potentially get in there. And it's kind of the risk you take with any sort of rookie running back. But like RJ Harvey's a talented player, man. Like
I get it, but I nailed the rookie running backs this year. Y'all were said I was crazy when I said Hampton was going to be a good pass catching back in the league. In those few games he played,
the pass catching stuff in a Greg Roman offense is the first time you've ever seen it. So
but you saw it.
I saw it like one game. I saw it one game. One game he had a nice day through the air. One game. All right, let's get back to it. Here, KJ's question here. Better flex start: BTJ, Jacoby Myers, or Zach Charbonnet. We'll go with David here. Which one are you going with?
With Travis Hunter being out, I think Brian Thomas is going to get a little bit more targets. I'm not believing any of the trade rumors. Are they listening?
So stupid.
Are they listening to offers? I mean, maybe, but unless a team is offering like a first and Jalen Waddle for him, I don't see them doing that. And even then, I don't even know if I would accept that if I was the Jags.
Yeah,
but I'm starting Brian Thomas Jr. Myers has been hit or miss. Sharbs, I'm personally not a fan of Sharbs. If your running back is a bye week, he's a good filler. But assuming your running backs are both playing this week, I would keep Sharbs on the bench and go with Brian Thomas.
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to have a great game against the Raiders this week. It's going to happen. He's going to get all the first read targets this week. He's going to have plays designed. They had a bye week to try to figure some stuff out. And honestly, like, I understand, like, BTJ's dropped some balls he shouldn't have. Like, he does have some PTSD over the middle of the field right now, right? But It's Trevor Lawrence. This is the problem for me with Brian Thomas Jr. Trevor Lawrence has just not been good for him, and I'm interested to see if they start to figure out some stuff after the bye. I think this is the matchup though. You got to have BTJ in your starting lineup.
Yeah, hey, real quick, hey, for KJ, you know, the Jaguars played the Raiders last year, and I was there. Okay, and Brian Thomas went off 9 receptions, 132 yards, 1 touchdown. Yeah, start BTJ with confidence this week.
100%. All right, let's get to Tony's question here. How about defenses this weekend, rest of the season out of the Jags, Houston Texans, or Indianapolis Colts? What are your thoughts on this grouping here, Dan? Which defenses do you like this week, and then what defense out of that group do you like rest of the season?
Definitely Houston. Houston's the lead defense. They're one of the best defensive units in the league. Got to pull up their stats here. But just overall, they can win games with their defense, and I trust them regardless of matchup, especially this week. You know, Bo Nix is good for an interception or two each game. We talked about it in the preview. The last time Sean Payton played a D'Amico Ryans led defense, his quarterback threw 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. So I would start the Texans defense with confidence. Rest of the season, I guess I would go Jags and then Colts, and then I guess the Jags turnover. They take away the ball. They're really good at that. Devin Lloyd has 4 interceptions on the year, and also the Jaguars have 11 interceptions as a team, one of the top 3 in the NFL. So I like in that order. I go Houston, Jags, and then the Colts.
Yeah, I like Houston's defense out of this grouping rest of the season. I think I'm going to go Jags defense though. This week in particular, I think that they're going to perform pretty well against the Raiders. And I know we talk about Genty as a start. It's the turnover thing for me. Like the Jags, 10 receptions,
Yeah,
10 giveaways. We talked about this earlier, right? They're going to cash in on that this week. I like them this week, but Houston's defense rest of the season, still one of the best defenses in the NFL, despite their offensive struggles this year. Uh, People don't understand how good you are at what you do, Blitzlink. This guy knows ball. Thank you, Kyle. Let's go Jason here, who has a few questions for us. All right, here we go.
Go Jason.
We're going to rapid fire these. Start 3. One must be a wide receiver. Marvin Harrison, Sutton, Tracy, Rico. David, we'll start with you.
I'm going Sutton, just easily. And one must be a receiver. Oh, start 3 of them. Marvin, Sutton, and Rico this week. I want to see what Tracy does before I commit to starting him.
All right, sounds good. I think I'm benching Rico out of this grouping this week. It's just a matchup thing for me against the Packers. I know Sutton's matchup is brutal too, against Derek Stingley and stuff, and could have an absolute dud. But I think you like him more a little bit than what Rico Dowdle's floor could be this week against the Green Bay Packers. All right, Dan, next one here. Start one this week and/or rest of the season. Hunter Henry, Juwan Johnson, Noah Fant, Zach Ertz, or Theo Johnson. This is basically tight end streamer hell, is what it looks like for Jason Ortiz right now. What are your thoughts on this group?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I guess I would go Hunter Henry here. Check these rankings real quick. But how many touchdowns is Hunter Henry? It seems like
Hunter Henry's been struggling over the past 3 years. His target share has dipped to only 14% over the last 4 weeks, which has been a little bit scary. This week, though, I'm out on Hunter Henry. The Falcons are blanketing tight ends.
So just rest. Yeah, I would trust Hunter Henry because it's just the better offense. I mean, out of these groups, yeah, Zach Ertz, you never know. Theo Johnson, New York Giants. Yeah, I would go Hunter Henry. Just the offense. If this is the group here, you know, I trust Josh McDaniels. Hunter Henry will get his touchdowns, and the rest of the season, I would go with him.
I think rest of the season, I'm higher on Henry than these other guys, but I am a little bit worried about his play as of late. I'm going Juwan Johnson, though, this week, who's starting to look a little bit better. And I think if there's a guy that benefits from Tyler Shuck, it's the guy that'll throw a little bit more underneath and 2, and that's Juwan Johnson. So I'm going to take that matchup against the Rams. All right, David, here you go. Start 1, Kamara, Rico, Jalen Warren, or DJ Moore. Who are you going with?
I really want to say it again, but I won't. I think Kamara is a safe bet this week just because I think they're going to focus on him more with Tyler Shuck's first start. And there's going to be a lot more screen passes. I think Kamara will get more carries as well to really ease Shuck into the offense. So I'd go Kamara.
Yeah. I'm leaning Jalen Warren out of that grouping. I think, the Colts are a tougher matchup for sure for running backs, but he's going to get the volume, and Aaron Rodgers is going to throw him the ball. Talk about receiving running backs. Jalen Warren is up there in terms of receptions this year. He's going to have enough volume. I think with Kamara, I don't love Kamara's matchup this week against Los Angeles. DJ Moore, I'm out on him, so I'm going with Jalen Warren in that one. All right. Dan, start one this week and rest of the season. This is kind of similar to the one we did earlier. So out of this grouping, are you making obviously no Hunter Henry now? Which one are you going with here?
Yeah, so it's just another tight ends, Ertz, Fant, Theo. So you're trying to stack here. Start one this week. Man, TJ Hawkinson, Schultz. Man, I like TJ Hawkinson. Especially in that. No?
Me and Ryan, we're on board with that one.
I mean, hey, I'm looking at this list. I'm like, who's the better football player? I mean,
look, I think it's like DJ Moore this year. He just disappointed me.
I would agree
so
with you
leagues.
that TJ Hawkinson's the best football player on this list, but he's doing nothing in fantasy this year. I mean, you want to know how many yards per game?
JJ back.
13.5 yards per game with McCarthy at quarterback. He hasn't topped 50 yards this year. TJ Hawkinson's just been bad, but the rest of these guys are not very good as well. So it's like,
okay.
Am I the one that likes Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz has been fairly consistent.
Ertz is he's a touchdown dependent guy. I think like this week it's hard. Out of this, honestly, I kind of like Noah Fant and Theo Johnson for this week in their matchups. I think Theo gives you that touchdown upside with Dart.
Just stack them.
But like rest of the season, I think it's still TJ out of this group. This seems like a streamer tight end situation. TJ and Ertz are a toss-up for me rest of the season. It is tough. All right, let's get to Jason's final question here. Start one running back, Kamara, Rico, Monungai, then start two flex. The other two running backs are okay, yeah. Pick one running back and two flex between these four guys. Who you going with, David?
So the running back I'd start is Kyle M. And the start two flex, as a Bills fan, I am never starting Shakir in fantasy. I have learned that the hard way. I will never start Shakir in fantasy football. I love him, but absolutely not. Two flex, Wan'Dale Robinson, and the other flex is just between Rico and Kamara for me. I think Kamara has a safer floor of like 10 to 12 points, but Rico's ceiling, if you need to have a crazy game, I think Rico could get you 20 points. And I'd go Rico over Kamara for the second flex.
I'm going Wan'Dale Monungai, and I'm also going to go Rico. I know I don't like Rico's matchup. The thing I do like with Khalil Shakir is that if there's a position you want to target against the Chiefs and a player that's had success against them, it's been Khalil Shakir in fantasy football purposes. So I think he's a decent play for some teams, but I think I'm still going Rico over him this week. Super flex here. Justin Herbert, Ladd for Goff, Moore, and Chase Brown. Personally, Dan, I think I'm staying with Herbert and Ladd over the DJ Moore, Chase Brown, and Jared Goff side of things. I think that side's a little bit better.
Is this a trade situation?
It seems like a trade situation, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't trade Herbert. Herbert's been running a lot more as well. He's an awesome player. I like Herbert, and then especially with Ladd too, you're stacking them in fantasy. That could be deadly. So it is a tough matchup because it's the Titans, and they could blow them out and not put as many points up this week. But
if they're running back needy, Chase Brown. I don't think Herbert to Goff is that crazy of a fall off in Superflex. I might be wrong, but DJ Moore doesn't really move it for me. But Chase Brown could. If you're desperately need a running back, I can get it.
All right, next question here. Guy got back to me. LOL. Should I trade Marvin Harrison Jr., Brock Bowers, and Harvey for Gadsden, Keenan Allen, and Travion Henderson? Absolutely not. I would not do that. I definitely think, Bowers is going to come back and play a lot better than he has been. He's still one of the more valuable tight ends. I have him over Gadsden for sure rest of the season. Marvin Harrison Jr. I have the rest of the season over Keenan Allen. And then RJ Harvey and Travion Henderson are basically neck and neck right now in rest of the season value. So as far as that trade goes, I think I'm holding off on that one there. Let's get to the next question. David, this one's for you. Need some help, folks. BTJ or Tyrone Tracy Jr. in PPR. Who are you going with?
I know Brian Thomas is having a down year, but these are just some disrespectful questions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Brian Thomas or Tyrone Tracy? What a year it's been in fantasy football.
Mighty have fallen.
BTJ, man.
Going Brian Thomas again. Travis Hunter's out. I like a sneaky pickup for the waiver is Parker Washington. I think some people are sleeping on him. He's been available in a few leagues. He might pop off too, but definitely starting Brian Thomas over Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. as well. Should be in for a nice game against the Las Vegas Raiders this week in Dan's squad. All right, PPR pick 1 wide receiver, 2 flex, Debo, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chase Brown, Travion Henderson, or Kareem Hunt. Out of this group, Dan, who are you getting in your starting lineup?
I guess the first 3. Pick 1. Yeah, you can start MHJ and flex. Yeah, like you said, Debo's been having a strong year. It's a tough matchup though against the Seahawks, man. The Seahawks,
Yeah, it is.
Better teams. Obviously, I really like Trayvon, but he hasn't gotten consistent work, so it's hard to trust there. Kareem Hunt against Buffalo. Ryan would be better to answer that question.
We can't defend the run. We cannot defend the run.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Any running back that plays Buffalo is a must start.
Yeah. So go Kareem Hunt, MHJ, Chase Brown. I like
that.
I'm going Hunt, Chase Brown, MHJ too. I have Hunt slightly over Travion Henderson, and like David alluded to, like the Bills are really struggling against running backs this year, and Kareem Hunt in a limited role has actually been pretty decent in fantasies. He falls in the end zone. That's kind of what you need.
Yeah, he keeps scoring.
He does. And I know a lot of people are high on Brashard Smith this week, but I truly think Kareem Hunt's going to get a nice workload, and Brashard Smith's probably going to see 25-30% of snaps still. I think that they're going to rely heavily on Kareem Hunt this week. In that backfield. All right, KJ back here. How worried should I be with Nico and London this week in full PPR? Well, Nico, I'm a little bit less worried about with Pat Surtain being out this week and Drake London. Like I mentioned before, he's going to be in the slot. He's going to avoid that Christian Gonzalez matchup at times. So I think with both them, obviously they have tough matchups on paper. You slightly downgrade them, but I still have them as must-start low-end wide receiver ones. I wouldn't be super worried for bust performances from either of them. Obviously, it could happen, but I think they're a little bit safer than people want to admit this week just because you kind of dive deeper into everything that's going on. They're not as tough of matchups as they appear to be. All right, David, this one's for you. PPR 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end.
Oh, boy.
Genty, Williams, Warren, Odunze, Pickens, Nico, BTJ, Pitts, Laporta. Not sure why, but I smell
Twitch. On Twitch. What's up?
All right, okay, David. Well, so 2 running backs, Genty, Williams, and Warren. I'm really not a Genty believer. I think PPR especially, I'm more confident Jalen Warren over Genty, and Javonte Williams has been dominant this year. So the running backs, I'd go Williams, Warren. 2 receivers, I'm going George Pickens. Oh, I think I'd lean Brian Thomas, and is there no flex? I want to see Nico play after this injury, so I'd go Pickens, Brian Thomas, and then Laporta for the tight end.
Yeah, I'm locking in Kyle Pitts at the tight end position this week. The Patriots are actually like the one thing they struggle with on defense is tight ends. They're 5th in most yards allowed this year. So I'm going to go Pitts. Pitts has actually been a consistent fantasy option this year, which is crazy to say.
I can't bring myself to say start Kyle Pitts. I've been burned too many times.
The wide receiver position for this guy is absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, it's tough. I really like Romo Dunze this week against Cincinnati. He's pretty high up there for me.
Pickens has just been balling every single week.
Nico, I think I'm going to go Nico over Pickens. So I'm going to go Dunze and Nico. I think, like I mentioned, Pickens does have a good matchup this week, but I think I like those 2 guys just slightly a little bit more. And then for the backfield, I'm sticking with Genty and Williams. The volume there should be good. So pretty solid lineup heading into this week. All right, PPR, pick 1 wide receiver, 2 flex. Seth McMillan, Jordan Addison, Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, and Kyle Monungai. Dan, why don't you go ahead and answer this one?
Yeah, I like McMillan, D-Mac from Carolina, wide receiver, 2 flex. This is PPR. Man, Chase Brown. Obviously, Kyle, dude. Start Kyle. I can't believe this is all these questions about Kyle. Yeah, you got to start him. He's the Bears starting running back. Like, he's going to go off on Sunday. I'm playing him. It sucks for me. I'm playing him in one league. But
I think I'd lean towards Brown personally.
And then the toss up for me is Chase Brown, Addison. I guess Chase Brown because it's a better matchup this week.
Yeah, I'm locking in Chase Brown and Monungai, and then I'm going Tet in the flex. That's a solid trio right there of guys with good matchups that you want to get in your starting lineup. And then I do want to answer this for Epic Dom. As far as flex goes, I think you flex Pickens at that point. for your team to get that locked in there. All right, guys, we are finishing up the show right now. Drop your final questions that you have in the comments below. We are going to get through these final ones here for you guys. PPR pick 3, Nico, T. Higgins, Keenan Sutton, or Travis Etienne. I'll answer this one real quick, and then we'll jump off to you, David. I am going to lock in. Nico's got to be a lock, right? I'm actually going to bench Keenan Allen, and I'm going to bench Cortland Sutton in this one. Higgins is getting the start against Chicago. I think Travis Etienne, right? I know the Raiders have been better against the run. It's also a good matchup for them because they've allowed fantasy production at the running back position. Jaguars are coming off a bye week. We know that against some teams that have struggled, they've been able to run the ball a little bit better. So that is a guy that I want to get my starting lineup for sure. Need one wide receiver and one flex. Henderson, Dowdle, Tet, and JMO. What are your thoughts on this one, Dan?
Let's see. One wide receiver, one flex. Yeah, McMillan. Start McMillan this week. One flex. Man, Jameson Williams. Man, I see with these guys, man, I kind of like I don't know how the rest of your team is structured. If you have a solid team, I would love starting Jameson Williams because it's like boom or bust, man. But this is what I do, man.
Me and Ryan been on board the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, but see, you guys are like more fantasy people. And then I look at it more of the NFL perspective. I love Jameson Williams. It takes one slant and go. He take it 80 yards, and before you know it,
there's only been like one slant and go this season.
But
listen, it's hard to trust a guy that is.
But Rico Dowell, it's a tough matchup, and then Henderson's not getting the work. So it's like
Trevion Henderson's gonna get the work this week, though. That's the thing. Like they're forced to use him. They're forced to give him.
They brought up DeForest, the guy from the Cardinals. He was on the practice.
You don't know his name. That's Henderson's gonna ball out.
D'Ernest Johnson.
Well, I'm sure D'Ernest Johnson's gonna play like 80% of the snaps, but Trevion Henderson's gonna get touches. Like I can't.
If you drafted Trevion Henderson in the 5th,
this is the
round,
situation you drafted him.
You got to start him. Yeah.
You have to start him. Next question here from JC. JC, welcome back. He's been a weekly guy here. Good evening, gents. With Dowdle starting against a brutal Green Bay run defense on the road, is it smart for me to sit him and start Hunt against Buffalo half PPR? Yes, 100%, JC. Yeah. It is a situation where you need to do it. Yeah. Get Kareem Hunt in there. His volume's going to be good. He's found the end zone a ton of times. He's really good in short yardage situations. And I think Kansas City's probably going to lean a lot more on their run game than they normally do in this one, even with Pacheco out. So with Dowdle having a tough matchup, you go with Kareem Hunt there. David, rate this squad here, 12-team PPR, start 7 and move to make. Dart, Daniel, Charbonnet, Brees Hall, Harvey, Henderson, JSN, Lamb, Egabuka, Mooney, Kraft.
Hey, just give him the password. Give him the password. He'll do
it. Ironically, I actually have most of these players in one league. So I have a league where I have Dart, Daniels, Judkins, JSN. See, JSN, Lamb, Egabuka. That's a great wide receiver core. I'd give it a solid 8.5, but to start 7, is this super flex? I don't think so. Starting Daniels this week. Chase Brown and Judkins are my RB 1 and 2. My receivers would be JSN, Lamb. That's 5, and then the flex I'd have Egabuka and a tight end Kraft.
Yeah, I like
tight ends though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I like that roster construction. I think this is a really strong team. I mean, especially having JSN, Lamb, and Egabuka at the receiver position. Pretty good deal for you right there. PPR pick 1, Dowdle, Marks, or Keyshawn Boot. I'm going Woody Marks here. I think that, the receiving volume against Denver is a real thing, and he's been really good through the air the past few weeks. So I like him this week. I know the matchup looks tough on paper, but Woody Marks should be able to cash in on that. Dan, this one's for you. Start 1 running back, 1 flex. Full PPR, Trevion Henderson, Brashard Smith, Darnell Mooney, RJ Harvey, Zach Charbonnet.
Start 1 RB, 1 flex for PPR. Yeah, I guess in this case, you would Mr. Henderson here, and then 1 flex. Charbonnet. Yeah, you got to start Charbonnet because he continues to get those red zone looks. It seems like he scores 2 touchdowns every week. So, yeah, start those 2.
Yeah, I think I like Charbonnet out of that grouping a little bit more. I know Brashard Smith's a name that a lot of people are talking about. I just don't know his role. Like, this is from a Chiefs fan that watches every game, knows everything about this team. I don't know what his role is going to be. They've only used him in limited snaps, but when he's on the field, he does get the ball. So I know that Pacheco's out, but it's going to be more of Kareem Hunt filling in on early downs. then it'll be Brashard Smith filling into that role this week. Start one wide receiver, full PPR, Diggs, Tet, or BTJ. I'm going Tet out of this group. I still have Tet a little bit higher than BTJ this week. They're basically neck and neck right there for me, but Tet's been a little bit more consistent in terms of production this year. So I think you trust him in a favorable matchup against a Green Bay secondary that definitely has some holes to expose for sure. David, taking this one to you, pick 2. Oh, wait, there's only 2 guys.
I'll pick Diggs
and
Jacoby.
Those two.
Here we go. This is the full question right here. Okay. PPR pick 2: Diggs, Wandell, Jacoby, or Bam Knight. Who you going with?
I'm sure Dan wants me to say Bam Knight, but I'm not a Bam Knight.
No, you don't have to.
I'm not a Bam Knight believer. Stephon Diggs has been surprisingly good, and as Brady Penn has been stating, Drake May's EPA has been off the charts. So got to start Stephon Diggs. But Stephon Diggs and Wandale Robinson this week. Wandale's been very consistent, 10 to 15 points, exactly what you need. He won't let you down with single digits like Jacoby or Bam Knight if he puts up a stinker.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit interesting. I am fading Diggs this week. I got to stick with my guns. I'm fading Diggs this week. I'm going to start Bam Knight and Wandale Robinson out of this grouping. It's just with Diggs, like outside of the 2-week stretch where he had 246 receiving yards, he hasn't topped 50 receiving yards in any other game. Targets are inconsistent, and his ADOT's actually 86 among receivers. He's not like getting down the field looks. So if the targets aren't consistently there, his fantasy production is going to be up and down. So a tough matchup against the Falcons. I'm a little bit lower on him, I think, than a majority of people. All right, a few more here. T, Sutton, or Henderson, start 2, Dan.
Start T. Higgins. T. Higgins, like I said earlier, he scored a touchdown in 3 of his last 4 games. Especially with Flacco, he's going to be playing this week. Start him. And then, if you got, in my case, man, Sutton, it's a tough matchup, though, against Houston. So in this case, I would start TreVeyon Henderson.
Yeah, I'm going Trey and T in this one as well. Should be 2 guys with good matchups that cash in on those there. All right. Turbo here. Someone offered me Turbo Malo. All right, someone offered me McBride for Rice. I have Puka, Olave, and Diggs. It's a solid wide receiver room, and then Pitts at tight end. Should I take the deal or just try to get more than just McBride? I think I would get more than McBride. Rashee Rice is my 11th overall player in fantasy football for the rest of the season. Right, your receiver room with Puka and Rashee Rice is basically winning you games alone, and then Chris Olave, who has the usage of an elite wide receiver, and his production hasn't been matching that, but it should in the second half potentially of the year. I think like having those 3 guys is an elite advantage for you, and you might want to upgrade, but at your tight end, I think you could get a little bit more. Get McBride and another player, and maybe you have yourself a deal there. Then you go, and then he kind of has Diggs or Olave. I'm going Olave. Olave just, I know he's facing the Rams, a tougher matchup, but he's the guy you can't bench in my mind. His volume, his usage in Kellen Moore's system has been incredibly good. Even with Tyler Shuck under center, like I think he'll be just fine. He's a good player. Let's just say that with Chris Olave, and he's staying healthy this year, which is a big difference than in years past. All right, David, Travis Kelce or Oronde Gadsden this week?
I want to say Gadsden, but Travis Kelce has been fairly dominant against the Bills, even when they lose in the regular season. But I'd go Travis Kelce. I want to see more out of Gadsden. He's been looking great the last few weeks, but I just don't know if he's going to do this the rest of the season or if it's just one of those random guys that are just having a good couple weeks.
Yeah. I think I have Oronde Gadsden higher this week, but here's the thing with Travis Kelce right now. I know a lot of people think, Travis Kelce is like a older washed receiver, like tight end, like he's just not as good as he once was. The thing that's different about Kelce this year is he lost some weight. He's actually moving a lot better than he did last year, but he also doesn't have as much pressure as he did last year. The receiver room is healthy, right? The offensive line is blocking well. So you have that combination. It's allowing Travis Kelce, this season to have a really good year. He's second in receiving yards at 36 years old, right? And that's with the return of Rashee Rice. He had 99 yards last week. Like, it is making it easier on Travis Kelce to not be the sole focus on the defense anymore and have other weapons around him to where his production actually isn't tailoring off a crazy amount. He's a consistent option. But I think this week I have Gadsden just slightly higher then Travis Kelce. All right, Dan, here you go. This question, PPR start 2, T. Sutton or Travion Henderson?
Yeah, T. Higgins and Travion Henderson.
Oh, is this a question you already answered?
It might have been. I don't know who asked it, but
Oh, yeah.
T. Higgins, Travion Henderson.
It was Reese. Yeah. Reese got that in there. All right. P Gear here. Thank you for all the questions, and I appreciate you, bro. Got a stupid amount of wide receivers. We're trading a guy like Chamari Dyke or Rashid Shaheed for Travion Henderson straight up. Absolutely. 100%. I do like Chamari Dyke or Dyke. That's a guy's name I got to learn a little bit better. I'm struggling with that one right now.
Yeah, he had a nice game last week.
I like him actually as a high upside receiver for the Titans. I like A.O. Manners, that name everybody's talking about. I think it's going to be him that actually overtakes him as that young upside wide receiver. He's looked really good over the last 2 weeks, and it's been clear the utilization's been a little bit different, in that offense. So I would still try to trade them for Travion Henderson. Definitely a better option there. All right, Dan, start 1 this week. Daniels will have to drop somebody on IR or Jackson Dart.
Oof, man, Jackson Dart's been having a really good year in fantasy. Wow, I'm curious to get you. Man, Jaden's awesome too. I guess I keep benching Jackson Dart in one of my leagues and I keep losing. So start Jackson Dart. That's my expert analysis.
That's because Daniel's gonna hurt.
Yeah, well, Jackson Dart can run, man. And then we talk about the 49ers cannot rush the passer.
I'm about it. I can get behind that. I like that.
I don't think
I
you
don't
go
know
wrong with
Ryan
either. I think both will get 20 points this week.
Yeah. All right. Alex here. Hey, guys, this is my team for week 9. What do you think? Drake May, James Cook, Travion Henderson, JSN, Rome, McBride, Wandell, and then the bench of JCM, Judkins, Caleb Williams, Jennings, Woody, Kareem Hunt, and Mecca Agabuka. I am 5-3.
Alex, what's
10-man PPR, any moves. I'm getting better at that quick talk. I'm getting better at it. I think it's a really good team. You got a lot of depth there for sure. I like the lineup. Obviously, you got some bye weeks in there that you're kind of dealing with. I think that Kareem Hunt for Travion Henderson or Wandell Robinson makes sense. But besides that, the lineup looks good. Should be a really solid team. If you're looking to make any moves, maybe you try to trade one of your elite wide receivers and see if you can upgrade potentially at running back or something like that. Package those guys. Maybe go get like Judkins. Package Judkins and Emeka, dude, and you could get yourself Bijan Robinson. That would be a great trade for both sides. That would be good. Jaws here, De'Ami Brown or Parker Washington. Give us more use rest of the season. Could one be sneaky? David, you kind of talked about this earlier. Who are you going with?
I like Parker Washington better overall over De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown did pretty well at the beginning of the year, but he's really fell off from his usage in the beginning of the year. Parker Washington had a good game last week, and I think that'll continue with Travis Hunter being out.
Yeah, I think Parker Washington has been a sneaky option for sure. He's definitely a player you do want to stash on your bench and kind of see what happens. It was unfortunate what happened to Travis Hunter, but should be a consistent, steady option the rest of the year. All right, last questions of the night. Pick one, Stafford, Love, or Dart. We're going to go quick here. My computer is about to cash in and die for us right now on this Week 9 show. We're going to go Jackson Dart out of this grouping. I have Love as a sit this week against the Panthers just because their pass defense has been good. Stafford's in a good matchup, but Dart I have ranked a bit higher. And then, Dan, who you going with this group? You got Love, T-Law, Rodgers, and Goff.
Man, give me – dang, it's a tough matchup, though, this week. I guess Jared Goff.
Jared Goff? All right.
Yeah, I don't know how confident I am, but go with Jared Goff in that, man.
All right, and then David, last question here. Cortland Sutton or Quentin Johnston this week?
To wrap things up, I like Cortland Sutton. I know it's an unfavorable matchup, as you guys have mentioned, but Quentin Johnston has just really been inconsistent. He had such a great September, but Ladd McConkey has been coming around, and Quentin Johnston's just been really fading out of the offense the last couple of weeks. And I just trust Cortland Sutton a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. All right, P. Gear, last one. Appreciate you two as well tuning in. Wandell Robinson and Marvin Harrison Jr. for me are two guys that I'm getting in my lineup. I mentioned this earlier. Wandell is my favorite bet of the week, the slot receiving yard matchup against the 49ers. And then you have Marvin Harrison Jr. going against the Cowboys this week. Great matchup for sure. So I'm locking in those two guys. MC, appreciate you tuning in for the first time. This is how we do it over here at Blitz Sports Media. The most personalized fantasy advice that we can provide for you guys as well. So really appreciate all you guys. Should be a great week 9. Me and Dan's teams or David's teams are facing off this week in what should be a classic game. Once again, Mahomes versus Allen. If you guys do have any last-minute questions, feel free to stop by my Twitter tomorrow morning. Drop those start and sit questions. I'll be answering them all morning long. Let's hope we have a great week 9, and we will catch you guys next time on Blitz Sports Media.